But later today, we're going to see some government, some regulator involvement in the level of those bills, because millions of customers are going to find out about this cap that is going to be put in place by the regulator Ofgem, particularly on the standard variable tariff, which around 10 million households are on around the country. We've got Dale Vince with us, who's Managing Director of the green energy company Ecotricity. Morning, Dale.
Morning, guys.
First up, what difference do you think it will make when the government says this is the limit on what companies can charge as a standard variable tariff?
I think it's definitely going to change the market. What they're controlling is the price of what effectively is the default tariff. It's the price that people pay when they don't make another choice. And what they're responding to is the bad behaviour of energy companies over the last few years, where they've been offering loss-leading prices to win customers and then quietly putting them on a higher price tariff when that deal comes to an end, usually after 12 months. And so this is the government's attempt to fix that problem. I think it's actually the wrong way to fix the problem, and I think it's going to change the market, but it's hard to say quite how.
Well, I mean, one way to do it, of course, would be to increase competition, which everyone's failed miserably to do. And this cap isn't going to improve that situation, is it?
No, I think it's going to make competition worse, actually. And a lot of what the regulator has done over the last few years has made energy companies look the same. All of the bills carry the same messages, and it's kind of billing is like an identikit process, for example. But I think the problem is that these loss-leading tariffs have sent a false signal to the market, to the politicians and the press, making people believe this is what the real market price should be. But it's not, and that's being subsidized by these higher price tariffs, and pushing down the price of these higher price default tariffs is probably going to change the level of the loss-leading tariffs. I think the price of those will go up, and the gap between the two will close. That's not a bad thing itself, but I think there'll just be less choice in the market, and I think less reason for people to engage.
Dale, when you look at how the smaller energy companies like yourself, the newer ones, I mean, they don't feel so new now because you've been around quite a few years, but relative to the big six companies, when you look at your business, how will that be changed by a cap going on standard variables? Because most people who are on standard variable tariffs will be with the big six energy companies.
Yeah, that's right, because they inherited the MAP privatisation. We've been around for 25 years, by the way. We're the oldest independent energy company in Britain.
You're the oldest new one. Yeah, we'll let you have that.
The oldest, not big six. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, we don't operate in this way. We have one tariff and one price, so we're not affected by this. We aren't part of the problem. We're affected by what happens in the market generally.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, the knock-on effect. So maybe not the cap, but what would the knock-on effect be for you now? Does it change how you approach things because of it?
I don't think so. We've been watching a whole wave of new entrants come in the last couple of years, maybe 30 of them, and they're all picking up this very bad practice that Big Six have been doing, this price gouging thing. And so I think anything that stops that happening is a good thing. But I think what Ofgem have done is go about it in the wrong way. There should have been a relative price cap. So, for example, they should have said you can only have a 10% differential between your most expensive and your least expensive tariff, and that would have closed the gap and allowed flexibility at both ends. But setting a hard floor like Ofgem are going to do, that's a really risky business, because if they get that price wrong, then there'll be a lot of bankruptcies in the market, for example, at one end of the scale, and if they get it wrong in a different way, then they'll just kill competition.
But our price rise is inevitable, because we've been told for years, yes they are, because you've got to compare it with the wholesale price market. Prices are going up there, therefore our prices have got to go up. That's not always the case, is it?
There's often a lag between the wholesale market movement and the retail market movement, and it does vex people. But, I mean, that's the way it is, because companies hedge forwards, maybe 6, maybe 12 months, and so there's a lagging effect. The market moves before retail, and sometimes...
In other words, rise like a rocket or flutter down like a feather.
It can be like that. But, wholesale markets have been going up for years on end. It's just a trend. And since April this year, they've gone up another 20%.
Have you got prices going up this year, then, for new customers?
We've just fixed them for the next 12 months for all customers.
But in terms of where you were relatively, you're having to make that case to some customers. Wholesale prices have gone up. Our prices are going to be higher now than what we were offering a year ago.
Yes, we did it about a week ago, and our price went up 4.3%. But that's because we've been hedging all year long, and so we avoided the 20% rise. But we now fixed it for the next 12 months, which is, given our customers...
But is that something you do automatically what happens if there was more competition? Would you put up prices automatically, or would you think hard and long about it?
What do you mean if there was more competition?
Well, I mean, if there is more competition as far as the energy companies are concerned, particularly the big six, is a price rise always inevitable?
Well, wholesale markets go up pretty much every year. They have for the last few years. And also a big chunk of the bill, maybe a third of the bill, is what we pay to the grid companies that run the local and the national grid just to use the wires. So there's a lot of third-party costs in a bill. But as an energy company, we exist to build new forms of green energy, and we use our customers' bill money to do that. And so our entire focus in terms of what we set our price at is what it takes us to do our job, which is to change the way electricity is made in Britain.